The late afternoon sun spilled golden light across the bustling downtown street, as 34-year-old Jake Morrison made his way home from his auto repair shop. His gray t-shirt, still streaked with smudges of motor oil, carried the marks of another long day spent repairing cars and helping neighbors get back on the road. As a single father raising his 7-year-old daughter Sophie, Jake had built a reputation for fair pricing and honesty, often going above and beyond for families who were struggling to make ends meet. That willingness to help came from his own hardships. 3 years earlier, Jake had lost his wife in a tragic car accident. Left to raise Sophie alone while keeping his small shop afloat, he had endured some of the hardest days of his life. It was the kindness of the community that had carried him through those first painful months. And Jake had never forgotten how deeply those gestures of support mattered when he was most overwhelmed. As he walked, a sound instantly caught his ear, the sputtering, uneven attempts of a car engine failing to start. The silence that followed each try told him immediately that the problem was serious. Jake's instincts as a mechanic, and as someone who never turned his back on a neighbor, kicked in. He scanned the street until he spotted the source. On the opposite curb sat a sleek black sedan with its hood propped open. A woman in a navy business suit stood beside it, blonde hair shining in the sun as she spoke into her phone with clear frustration. Even from across the street, Jake noticed the tension in her stance and the helpless motions she made toward the engine. What struck him even more was the little girl in the passenger seat, no older than Sophie, wearing a pink dress with pigtails tied neatly in matching ribbons. The child's worried expression showed she understood her mother was struggling, but couldn't help. Crossing the street, Jake approached with the quiet confidence of someone who had fixed more cars than he could count. The woman looked up from her call, and for a moment he was caught by the sharp intelligence in her green eyes, though now clouded with exhaustion and concern. "Excuse me," Jake said kindly. "I couldn't help but notice you're having some car trouble. I'm Jake Morrison. I run Morrison Auto Repair just down the street. Would you mind if I take a quick look?" She ended her call and studied him carefully, weighing whether to trust a stranger with her expensive car. "I'm Elena Hartwell," she replied. "I was calling for a tow truck, but they said it'll be at least 2 hours before anyone can get here." Jake noticed the little girl listening closely through the window, her eyes darting between them, soaking in the adult conversation with the sharp curiosity only children have. "Well, Elena," Jake said with an easy smile, "before you spend money on a tow truck, why don't I check it out? Sometimes it's a simple fix. If I can get you running, it'll save you both time and money." Elena hesitated, then glanced at her daughter before nodding. "That would be very kind of you, Mr. Morrison. I have an important meeting across town, and I'm already behind schedule." Rolling up his sleeves, Jake leaned over the engine. His trained eyes quickly spotted the issue, a loose battery connection. A simple repair that would take less than 5 minutes with the right tools. "Good news," Jake announced, straightening up. "It's only a loose battery terminal. I've got what I need with me, and I can get you going in no time." As he worked, Elena watched, relief and gratitude softening her features. "Mr. Morrison, you've saved me. How much do I owe you?" Jake tightened the connection, wiped his hands on a rag, and shook his head. "Please call me Jake. And you don't owe me a thing. It was a 5-minute fix. I'm happy to help." Elena looked genuinely taken aback. "Jake, I can't just let you do this for free. This car is everything for me, work, my daughter. You've completely saved my day." Jake smiled, glancing at the little girl who was now grinning brightly from her seat. "I've got a daughter about her age, so I know how important it is to have a reliable car when you're raising a child. Think of it as one parent helping another." Just then, the little girl lowered her window and leaned out. "Thank you for fixing our car, Mr. Jake. My name's Lily, and I think you're really nice." Jake's heart warmed at her earnest words. "It's my pleasure, Lily. And that's a beautiful dress you're wearing." Lily beamed proudly, then turned a thoughtful gaze from her mother back to Jake. "Mr. Jake, do you have a little girl too?" "I do," he said with a smile. "Her name's Sophie and she's 7 just like you." Elena turned the key, and the engine purred smoothly to life. She exhaled in relief. "Jake, I truly don't know how to thank you. Is there anything at all I can do to repay your kindness?" Jake was about to politely decline when Lily spoke again. her tone carrying that disarming honesty only children seem to possess. "Mommy, maybe Mr. Jake and his daughter could come have dinner with us one day. That would be a nice way to say thank you." Elena flushed at her daughter's boldness, but Jake noticed something in her eyes that hinted the idea wasn't entirely unwelcome. "That's very thoughtful, Lily," Jake replied kindly. "But your mom is probably very busy, and I wouldn't want to intrude." To his surprise, Elena spoke up. "Actually, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. I'd love to cook dinner for you and Sophie as a proper thank you. Would this Saturday evening work?" Over the following days, Jake found himself looking forward to Saturday night far more than he expected. When he and Sophie arrived at Elena's home, they were welcomed with a beautifully set table and a warmth that felt like something they hadn't even realized they were missing. As the evening unfolded, Jake discovered that Elena was a successful corporate lawyer who had been raising Lily on her own since her divorce 2 years earlier. Much like him, she was constantly pulled between her demanding career and the desire to give her daughter the attention she deserved. Meanwhile, Sophie and Lily instantly connected. They bonded over their shared love of drawing and the quiet understanding of what it meant to grow up with only one parent. The girls spent the night creating elaborate sketches while the adults shared conversations ranging from school stories to hopes and dreams for the future. Later, Lily shyly approached Jake with one of her drawings. "Mr. Jake, I drew a picture of you fixing our car. See, that's you and Mommy and me, and we all look happy." Jake studied the drawing of 3 smiling stick figures standing beside a car. "This is wonderful, Lily. Thank you for making this for me." Glancing around to ensure the adults were still talking, Lily leaned closer and whispered words that caught Jake completely off guard. "Mr. Jake, I think you should marry my mommy. She's been sad for a long time, but she smiles a lot when she talks to you. And Sophie could be my sister, and we could be a family." Jake's breath caught at the child's innocent but profound words. "Lily, that's a very big decision for grown-ups to make carefully. But I do think your mom is amazing, and I'm very glad we're friends." Lily nodded solemnly, as if she had expected this answer, but wanted to plant the thought. "That's okay. I'll ask Sophie what she thinks too. Maybe if we both want it, it'll happen." 6 months later, Jake and Elena had become much more than friends. Their bond grew naturally, through shared dinners, outings, and the gradual discovery that they complemented each other in ways neither had imagined finding again. Jake came to admire not only Elena's intelligence and determination, but also the warmth and humor that made even ordinary days feel special. Elena, in turn, found in Jake a steady kindness and reliability that gave her and Lily the stability they had long needed. Sophie and Lily became inseparable, more like sisters than playmates, and thrived in this expanded circle of love and support. On a bright Saturday afternoon, exactly 1 year after they first met, Jake proposed to Elena at the very spot where he had once fixed her car. Sophie and Lily, who had helped plan the surprise, stood by eagerly. "Elena," Jake said, kneeling beside the car that had brought them together. "A year ago, I thought I was just helping a stranger with car trouble. What I found instead was that you and Lily were exactly what Sophie and I needed to feel whole again." Through tears of joy, Elena said yes, while the girls squealed, hugging each other with the satisfaction of children whose greatest wish had just come true. 6 months later, at their wedding, both girls walked down the aisle as flower girls, beaming with joy that seemed to light up the entire church. During the reception, Lily handed Jake another drawing. This one of 4 stick figures holding hands beneath a giant heart. "Mr. Jake," she said, though she now called him Dad every day. "Remember when I told you to marry Mommy?" Jake smiled at the memory of that whispered secret that had planted the seed for all that followed. "I remember it very well, Lily." She grinned proudly. "I'm really good at knowing what people need, aren't I?" Jake scooped her into his arms, amazed by how this little girl had seen so clearly what the adults had taken months to realize. "Yes, Lily. You're wonderful at knowing what people need. Thank you for helping us become a family." Looking around at the celebration, surrounded by loved ones, Jake reflected on how one small act of kindness had led to the greatest gift of his life. He had stopped to help a stranger with her car, never imagining it would bring him love, healing, and a future filled with joy. Sometimes, he thought, the most important repairs aren't made to cars or machines, but to hearts and families. And sometimes, It takes a child's wisdom to remind adults what love looks like. And that families are not just born of blood, but also of choice, commitment, and the daily act of caring for one another.